Hi, it's Alina Kapunik here. So I want to talk about how the solar flare event might look like, contact with ETs receiving signals from outer space, and what the scenario could be for this. I had actually watched an episode of The Outer Limits from season 3, episode 14, called Music of the Spheres, where they made an episode about how the solar flare event from the sun could look like. And it started with a young man named Devon, of 20. He was an assistant to an astronomer, and basically he was working as an assistant in an astronomy lab, and he received a signal from the Certus star system. The signal didn't make any sense to older people, but to younger people, it sounded like music, weird music. And Devon's younger sister, who was just finishing high school, she also listened to the signal, and to her it sounded even more like music because she was even younger than Devon. So the sister and her boyfriend got really obsessed with the music, the signal. But to other older people, it was just a signal. There's nothing there, nothing concrete. It didn't sound like a real signal to the older folks. Only the younger folks could understand that the signal that the ET sent from Certus was actually a real signal, and it was a form of music. So, and then Devon started tracking the sun, that there was something unusual going on, that the ultraviolet gamma of the sun was changing. It was getting hotter. So Devon looked back on the last 40-year data, what they had monitoring the sun, and they discovered that the sun was changing. And this is all sudden, like they had no real idea or warning about this event, the solar flare event. And what the aliens had sent them, that signal, that was music, was to help them through the solar event change, because in the show, in that particular episode, the sun changed dramatically. Like the ultraviolet gamma changed, so it got much hotter on the planet, and even the sky changed colors. It was no longer blue, but this purple color. And the humans changed as well. In that signal and that music, it had DNA coding and upgrades, genetic upgrades, where the people actually physically changed form. They changed into alien DNA because the beings from Certus had gone through that same change, but they were aware of when their star, their sun, would have that solar flare event, so they were more ready, and their appearance changed. So they sent the same, basically, music vibrational signals to Earth, to the Milky Way galaxy, to help the humans go through the change as well, so they wouldn't basically suffer or die. And it was a physical change with the music. Like they got this glowing skin, and they basically became beings with bigger skulls, no hair, kept the same height, but they had this beautiful pearl-like skin, green with purple and stuff like that, pearlescent skin tones, once the humans changed. And some of the humans decided not to change, and they had to stay indoors during the day for the rest of their lives. So there was a choice. Once the military and all the scientists figure out that the signal was not a threat and not an attack of war on Earth, They actually let the music be spread through the whole planet through satellites. At first, they thought it was some kind of a, artificial intelligence virus, which it wasn't, because some people, younger people, when they listened to the music, they started changing. And when the music was taken away from them, it was very painful and it looked like they were suffering and almost dying. But when they were given back the music, they started feeling better and went through the change. And the way they tested the music, the way that Devon tested the music, he exposed plants and rats to the music to see how it would affect living beings. And it actually, the plants became bushier and the rats became bigger, mice and rats. So the signal really helped out the animals. With the humans, it was a little bit more complex because the humans were physically changing into another being. And when the solar flash event happened, the sky became purple, the sun got bigger, and it became warmer on the planet, and the humans all survived. The ones that went through the change and the humans that didn't go through the change also survived. They would have to stay indoors during the day for the rest of their life, not to be exposed to the ultraviolet gamma rays, and it would be too hot during the day outside for them because they didn't go through the change. But we all have free will and choice. And some insiders have talked about a possibility of a solar flash event, of a CME, where there would be a release of a lot of plasma energy coming from the sun outwards, and we as humans would be getting DNA upgrades and genetic changes in us. And that this event happens every couple thousand years. And the way that the solar flash event happens is that the corona core of the sun, our star sun, changes. It literally expands outward and releases plasma energy from itself, and the plasma energy goes outward from the sun, and it reaches the ultraviolet rays and gamma rays from that, reaches the planetary body, and it has an impact on all living beings. That's very true. Even the color of the sun changes. It is it's the colors have really changed. Before it was really yellow, now it's more white. I think it will become more orange from what I've seen in future events. I have the suspicion it will become more orange, perhaps. But in the show episode, it was a huge solar flash event that happened. And it just, they got a signal from ETs, from SETI. They got a signal. And the older people didn't understand the signal because the vibrational frequency, they were older. So they couldn't sense the music, the vibrational sounds in that signal, but the younger people could. So I wanted to touch on that point as well. I think we have been receiving a lot of signals from other species of ETs in outer space. We might not know how to interpret these signals or even realize that they're signals. And how do you decode them? Maybe some folks in the secret space programs and the special access programs do know what these signals are and have interpreted them. That's a huge possibility because they do have the advanced technology to be able to tell what is actual signals with messages and what is just, space noise. So, but the thing is, some of these signals, if they are coming to us, they could be very important. One of these signals could be giving us information for how to go through the solar flash event. If there is a transformation, how we go through it and what to do. Because there are advanced civilizations living out there in space. And they're probably not the first to see these kinds of solar flash events, like a massive event. So the question is, how much ET contact are we already making? How much do the scientists know, but we're not being told about it? And that's something that's addressed in that particular episode. And I find it very interesting that it was called Music of the Spheres. That's a very interesting name. After re-examining this episode, I realized, oh yeah, that's a solar flash mass event. And I had watched The Outer Limits when I was like 18. So I haven't watched this in a very long time. And the series came out in 1997 until 2002 with quite a bit of seasons. The show itself I find very creepy. A lot of the episodes are very creepy. And I didn't always watch every episode because it's just like they include stuff that is just too creepy for me to even watch. And I watch, I'm not that sensitive to things, so in terms of what I watch. So, and it's easier for me to be open-minded and, just keep an open mind that this could be a possibility of a reality. And the show did a lot of disclosure. The Outer Limits disclosed a lot of stuff in these episodes. And they almost had like 7 seasons, so I think there is a lot of disclosure in TV shows as well, and in movies, especially these days. Like, for example, Passengers, the movie Passengers, where they're traveling 200 years. It's 200 years in the future, I believe, and they're traveling out to colonize a new planet. And there's like a couple of hundred people on the ship. Something goes wrong. One of the people is reawoken, who's an engineer or a mechanic, and he wakes up another person, a woman, because he's lonely. The ship is damaged in parts because of an asteroid attack. Not really attack, an encounter with an asteroid. And it damages parts of the ship, and they're awoken from cryostasis, from their pods. And they must figure out how to fix the ship, how to get along with each other, because there are 300 to 400, 600 other people depending on them to get the ship where it needs to go. And they woke up 90 years earlier than they should have because of the malfunctions on the ship from the asteroid pass. And they also showed medical pods, like how to revive somebody who's close to death, that there are ways to remove all disease. They had one of those medical pods on in the middle of the show. But the thing was, to access the services of the medical healing pod, you have to have enough credits. And like digital credits and wearing a bracelet with access codes. So you still have to have virtual money 200 years down the road to get medical help or to save yourself. Or to even buy food on the ship, which is crazy when you're like 90 years away from Earth and nobody knows what's really happening to you. You can't even send a message to Earth because you're light years too far away. So, it's still a bit dystopian, a dystopian reality of, digital money matters to eat food, to save your life, to access anything, services on the ship. So that still tells me something, that it's not perfect. Even 200 years down the road, nothing really changed, except you have more advanced technology. Just another example of disclosure. But it's all, since I'm on this topic, it's all relative in comparison. And back to the Outer Limits and what they had in this Music of the Spheres episode. It's really detailed. It's 42 minutes, and they address two subjects: the solar flash CME event and receiving signals from other intelligent advanced beings, and how the signal could be interpreted or misinterpreted. Some people could find that there's nothing there in the signal, that it's just space noise, and other people could find something in there that's really important. How you interpret information and data that's being received from outer space, that's something else that's very important. And it was explored in that episode, Music of the Spheres. So it's really relative to what's going on now, that we have these advanced technologies that are classified and we're not being told about them. The public doesn't know, other than, having it disclosed in TV shows and movies. So, and The Outer Limits is a classic. I even found some episodes of it on YouTube that people have posted. So it's a classic from the 90s and early 2000s. There was disclosure going on back then, and there's more disclosure happening now. So thank you. Namaste.